everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
And I'm Fox.
Hey guys, we are happy to be talking to you now because it is going to be Christmas movie season. And
yes, it is. It's starting.
Yeah,
with Thor.
It was. We
it
both
started
just saw
a few days
Thor.
ago.
Yeah. Separately, I went with my wife, and you went with your wife.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what did you think of Thor?
Really enjoyed it. It's the best Thor. That's not saying much because the other two, while they weren't bad, they were...
The other two were very middling.
Very middling.
Yeah.
Like a straight 5 out of 10. I enjoyed the Dark World a little bit because it kind of leaned into a little bit more like Asgardian thing, or like Norse things. It had the dark elves and it had all the weird, cool costume design.
Svartalheim.
But it still had way too much Earth. Like, why is Natalie Portman here? And more importantly, why is her Kat Dennings, her sidekick lady, why was she in the second one?
Yes.
She didn't even need to be in the first one. What? Anyway, yeah. Thor Ragnarok, very good.
It
fun
was
to watch.
A lot of fun to watch.
Colorful. Characters I enjoyed. Made me care about Loki.
Yeah.
Like, as a character and not just, like, a threat, which was nice. Like, I really enjoyed that. I'm interested to see where Loki's character goes, especially in Infinity War. Is he going to be a good guy?
No.
I
think all of this is spoiler alert. So, for real spoiler alert, if you don't want to know about Thor Dark World...
I didn't spoil anything.
Skip the... Well, no, I'm giving an actual spoiler alert right now for what I'm going to say next. Skip the next 10 seconds. It's not a huge part of the plot.
Sure.
But it is part of the plot.
Yeah.
There's a moment when Loki is right next to the Tesseract.
That's true. Okay, I remember that.
And I guarantee you,
there you go.
He has the Tesseract.
That's because the Tesseract is one of the Infinity Stones,
Stones,
and that's how he gets on Thanos' good side. He brings it to him.
Yes,
and then Thanos promises him Earth. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah,
because Loki always wants Earth. That's what his deal is.
And at the end of the day,
what Thor wants.
Right, he wants to take what Thor.
Right.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Loki is always looking out for Loki.
Yep, good call.
And that's it.
Okay.
So,
I still like Loki a whole lot more.
Oh, I like him because everything is a long con.
Mm-hmm,
and if you look at it through that mindset, like, he's a genius.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Man. Anyway.
So that was pretty good.
A lot of other movies are coming out. Black Panther. We're going to be talking about, previews.
It's not until February.
Yeah, previews, though.
Preview just came out.
We're going to be talking about representation in movies.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
In a little while, yeah.
Although Black Panther is, like, on the surface, very, like, different from others as far as, like, who the characters and the culture that's depicted. It's just got rap music. Like, it's
interesting.
We'll talk about it. It's going to be cool.
And then there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. And
yes, there is.
I am so excited for that because I am a massive Star Wars nerd. So it looks so good. Don't you give me those giggles.
Oh, no. I am excited for I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited for what we talk about before episode 8 comes out.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
We're not going to spoil that right now. It's going to be terrible.
And also, it's an age-old debate. Yes, you will get angry.
I'm going to get angry and storm off, and that's going to be the end of...
It's good. You're going to get angry because I'm going to be right, and you're not going to want to admit it.
It's starting already. All right, yeah, so we got some really cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Look out for that.
But also what's coming out soon is Justice League.
Justice League.
And that's one that I am cautiously optimistic for, and Fox is optimistically terrified about.
No, I'm gleefully anticipating a pile of garbage. It's coming out this Friday.
That's right.
Shh, don't tell them that we record this 5 days early. Shh. It's coming out this Friday. There's been lots of trailers for it. Like, they're getting the hype machine pretty strong, as they do with all these movies. That's not a detriment to
Fox.
DC.
I kind of love Aquaman. My man!
To me, is the most interesting character so far, because he doesn't look like Aquaman. He looks like a sea...
He's 90s Aquaman.
He looks like a cool Aquaman. Like a cool, like that looks like its own culture under the sea. Down, it's better down where it's wetter.
Yeah, under the sea.
Under the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Under the sea.
And yeah, he seems to be having fun.
Yeah.
Which is not something that happens in these DC extended universe. Fun is not a word. There was literally, aside from the one that was spoiled in the trailer, in Batman vs. Superman, there was a joke.
Right.
and it was at the worst moment possible. Like, it was so dumb.
I'm with your son.
I figured, because of the cape. Why is Aunt May, or not Aunt May?
Why is Aunt May even in this movie?
Yeah.
What is she
I didn't know how
here?
they crossed over. We didn't even notice. Why is Martha even like crack? She just watched dozens of men die and almost exploded herself, and she's making jokes.
And she's cracking
Like,
jokes.
come on, get out of here.
But there are a lot of reasons why Zack Snyder's vision of the Justice League universe, the DC cinematic universe, the DCEU extended universe.
They can't be that close to Marvel.
Yeah, also it'd be DCCU.
DCCU.
So, also DC Comics stands for Detective Comics Comics.
Detective Comics. Yes, I love it.
Anyway, Zack Snyder's vision of the DC universe has been flawed.
Okay. I already want to kind of disagree with you.
Okay, go ahead.
I think his vision is kind of cool. Specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about Superman.
Right.
The Zack Snyder version of Superman. Specifically the idea of what would happen if a immortal space god alien landed on Earth.
Not comic book Earth.
Landed
Earth.
On real life Earth
Yeah.
that we live in. What would happen? How would we react? What would be the result? I think that's an incredibly cool sounding idea. Like, I love that. Because it's actually, like, culturally relevant, extremely culturally relevant, with illegal aliens and immigrants and things like that. I love it. I think most of the problem is in the execution. But yeah, I also do think that his vision for what the movie should look like and how they should act has been flawed.
So today we're going to be talking about the DC Extended Universe, the cinematic universe.
Right.
And specifically Superman's role in it and the issue that comes from it. Now, Fox, you originally came up with this idea, and you said this in the first place, that Superman is the problem, and that got ideas rolling in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I agree and I disagree in some ways. So give me the premise here. What are you saying?
I think it's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult, almost to the point of you shouldn't try, to make a Superman that is realistic. And by realistic, I mean existing in the real world. Like our world.
Right.
So the fact that they attempted to do that is probably a very flawed, probably pretty doomed attempt from the outset. Like, before, when they were in the planning stages, there should have been somebody who said, we better not.
Now, why not? Because I think, I agree with you, but I would say that, I would guess that we disagree on why. Why don't you think so?
I think Superman was invented to be a power fantasy. The character of Superman, from the very start, before he was really Superman, at the start he was more just like, instead, like there's a space in between the words, he was Superman. He was a man who was super. He could jump really high and lift a car and faster than a speeding bullet. He wasn't an alien from another planet who could, like, you know, he was just a Superman, not Superman.
Right.
And so he has been from the start a fantastic character, and by fantastic I mean fantasy. Of fantasy.
Yeah.
Something that is unrealistic and could not happen in the real world. Hence, all the comics, even after he became alien immigrant Superman, the Earth is a different place. It's not the real world. It's a place where this guy is like, oh, cool, a Superman. He's a good guy. And he gets married to a lady. And like all the, you know, like he just becomes good guy, truth, justice in the American way Superman. And so, to me, that's the main problem, is that this character, from the start, has not been realistic. And so, trying to make him realistic is going to be extremely hard.
And here's and I was right. I thought that was your thought, and I disagree with you on that, because I think that you can make an unrealistic person in a realistic setting. I think we've done that a lot. I think we've tried and failed. Like there's the preview for the movie Bright coming out with Will Smith and...
Can we talk about that every week and talk about how stupid it is?
How ridiculous it looks. But this whole day, if something's so unrealistic put into a realistic world, that's what nearly every superhero movie is. That's what Spider-Man is. It's a man bitten by a radioactive spider, and instead of getting spider cancer, he gets superhuman powers.
He got spider cancer.
Like he all of this is unrealistic. The god of thunder from another planet comes down and fights the god of hell.
That's a good point.
You know, like, to me, it's not about the realism of it. To me, it's that Superman has always been, in the hearts of comic book fans, a flawless character.
Okay.
Superman is perfect.
He's a Boy Scout.
He is.
That's what they call it. They literally call him Boy Scout.
And people hate him for it. And like me, I am not a fan of Superman.
Sure.
Because I love Batman, because he is a fundamentally flawed character.
Okay.
In his core, he's a crazy person. He's a man who
That's
dresses
true.
up.
Yeah, he's got mental issues.
Yeah, very anger-based mental issues. Dresses up in a bat suit and punches people. Like,
it's funny how much we've accepted it. That's weird to talk about. That Batman is literally crazy.
Well, and they explore it in a lot of the comics. There's a whole graphic novel called Arkham Asylum. And
it's incredible.
Yeah, outstanding.
So good.
Yeah.
The artwork in that is amazing.
Oh, yes, it is. But Superman is the antithesis of Batman.
Yeah.
Which is why them together was such a good thing.
Quick aside.
Go ahead.
How much better would Spider-Man be if you went to the doctor after getting bit and been like, radioactive spider bit me. Am I going to get some kind... I've been feeling weird. Am I going to get some kind of powers? And he's like, no, you have 2 weeks to live. Oh!
Yeah, you have the power of leukemia.
And then the next panel, Spider-Man. It's just extremely sad.
In a minor chord.
Just got like, you just in bed imagining what he would be like if he was Spider-Man, the superhero.
Oh man, what if Spider-Man is the dream of like a teenage boy with cancer? This is suddenly really sad. Like, this has gotten dark. What if we...
The whole story is like he dies and there's a lawsuit against Osborne Industry, Oscorp, and I'd watch that. Anyway,
my heart hurts for this. For Peter Parker right now.
I agree with you, for sure.
Yeah, Superman is perfect.
Well, yes. I mean, there have been flawed versions of him before, and those are always interesting.
And they are interesting, but they're always alt-universe.
Sure.
Like
they're
Superman,
always
Red
not
Sun,
Superman. There's
because
Superman 2, Superman 67.
When Superman was made in the golden age of comics, he was meant to be this truth, justice, and the American way perfect guy. And then when Superman really came into being of this like unflappable perfect character was a time of like the civil rights movement in like the 60s and 70s, and he was this sign of unity and hope and all this other stuff. And now we're in an area where we have so much conflict. There's so much conflict within our country that our movies represent that. And so do the comics. So you get things like Civil War, you get things like
Civil War.
It was real
so
good. You get all kinds of things that are about conflict, and then you have this perfect person in the middle of it, and he just does not fit in.
Right.
He just doesn't fit.
Okay, so if what we've talked about, I mean, those are issues with Superman himself.
So
mostly.
When you insert him into a realistic movie, you have two choices. Either he's perfect, and suddenly the movie is not realistic anymore. There's no such thing as perfection in the real world. You can't have it. It doesn't work.
Okay, I think we need to define perfect for me.
Okay, so
what do you mean by perfect?
When I say perfect, we pretty well accept that whatever choice Superman makes is the right choice. We've accepted in our brain that no matter what Superman does, it's the right. He will always do the right thing.
Yep.
Superman is hardly, if ever, even presented with a morally neutral situation. Superman, it's always the right or the wrong thing, and we know that Superman will always do the right thing. If you try to put Superman, like there was a greatest moment in comics, in one of my opinions, not the greatest, one of the greatest moments in comics, No Man's Land. It's a moment in the comics when Gotham City has a massive earthquake, and the whole city is basically just dilapidated and defunct and cannot be supported anymore. And so the United States bombs the bridges and says, you are no longer part of the United
Sucks
States.
to suck, Gotham.
Yeah. When we have enough money,
Deuces.
we'll do what we can for you. But for now, you do your own thing. Well, so Superman flies in and he's like, here I come to save the day. And he comes in and he beats up the Penguin and he fixes the power plant and he goes and flies away. And now we have power again. Yeah, good job, Superman. Except for now, the Penguin comes back. And he's like, okay, power plant's mine. Everybody's got to pay me for money.
Yep.
And then Iceman's like, or Iceman, from
Iceman.
comics, or from
Right.
Marvel Comics, no, Mr. Freeze comes in and is like, nah, it's mine. And then there was a gang war over the power
Just
plant.
created a new problem.
And then the only way to take care of it was Batman blows up the power plant. Like, he's like, okay, nobody gets it now.
Yeah.
And then Superman comes back and he's like, man, I didn't realize that just trying to do the right thing can be a problem. And so instead, Superman shows up one day as Clark Kent with glasses and in like shabby clothing, and he's pretending to be one of the people in No Man's Land, and he plants food.
Yeah.
That's what he does instead, because that's what's actually going to help them.
And in most of the like flawed versions of Superman in comics that I can think of, they're always alternate universe or not canon. So like Kingdom Come or
Right. But in Kingdom Come, he was a flawless character again.
Kind of. Well, okay, at the start, or just like Red Sun Superman.
Red Sun, he's
generally his flaw is that he does everything right to a fault.
Yeah.
He becomes a dictator, like totalitarian. Right. Both Red Sun and Kingdom Come, which are both really great.
Right.
You should read both of those.
Yeah.
He just he becomes the one rule. Like, even though what he does is right, there's characters that even talk about, like, I get that you are, like, these villains should be, like, you are making a problem where there shouldn't be one, or creating a problem by taking away all the problems. Like, it's a weird thing. Yeah. So Superman, okay.
And that's the problem right there. You even just said it. Like, we have to accept that if there's an all-powerful demigod, there are absolutes in right and wrong, but there is a point in which he will meet a morally neutral event.
Sure.
And what's he going to do about that? And he's going to choose, and it may or may not choose go well.
Yeah.
So, like, in Kingdom Come, he made the Gulag, this massive prison for superpowered beings, and he became, like, this dictator over the Gulag. And every once in a while, his hologram would appear, and he'd tell them to be good people and to do good things.
You're here for re-education or something like that.
And they all hated him.
Yeah. Nobody, it didn't help anything.
Right.
It just contained the problem until it couldn't be contained. And it led to a lot of death.
So if we're going to try and take Superman seriously, we have to accept that either at one side, he has to do nothing, or on the other side, it's going to end up being too much.
Okay. So with that being said, if the possibility of a realistic Superman is a thing, which we've said,
right?
What's the problem with Man of Steel / Batman v Superman? So the realistic Superman we've seen so far, what is the flaw?
I will say I enjoyed Man of Steel. I know I'm in a lonely camp there.
We'll talk about that in a different episode where I just berate you for an hour.
No, it's 45 minutes of you just mocking me. No, I think it explored a different side of Superman.
Sure.
But, and what it was trying to do was establish the Superman of Superman v Batman. The flaw in it was no longer unflappable, perfect Superman. We walked into these movies expecting him to always save the day, and then he watches his dad die. Like, why didn't he go in there and, like, stop the hurricane? Wait a second.
He literally could have saved everybody at that moment. And then his dad was like, don't do it. Why not? He's an adult now.
I mean...
All right, Dad, see you later, I guess.
There are reasons for it. We're not going to get into it now.
It's a reason why Jonathan Kent having a heart attack is a way better way for him to die than in a tornado.
I do like that a lot because there's no amount of punching you
Superman
can do to
can't fight a heart attack.
Right. So, but anyway, so you have input a flawed Superman, which I was okay with. That's why I kind of like this idea of a flawed Superman trying to do the right thing, but ultimately realizing that when you have this much power, even trying to do the right thing is going to go wrong. To me, that was the moral of Man of Steel. As much as you try to do the right thing, sometimes it's going to go wrong. He had to kill Zod. He had to let his dad die. Like, there were moments in there that were a huge struggle. But now you've got Batman v Superman. And immediately Superman is trying to be this unflappable sign of protection and hope. They all see him as this, like, a lot of people, they talk about him as this unflappable sign of perfection and hope in the movie, and Batman's supposed to be his antithesis, this guy who goes out there and he'll straight up kill some people, you know.
Brand them so that they get killed in prison. Like,
yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, dark, which, I am okay with that, but now you have created this realistic, dark, gritty world, and you're trying to overlay a sign of perfection and hope on top of it, and it just doesn't fit and it doesn't work, and he seems out of place there. So he said, like, he goes face to face with Batman, and he says, he gives him an ultimatum. This is your last time. No more. And he shakes his finger at him, and he tisks him real good. No, you know, and then he flies away. And so, but then you and I stop and we say, that was stupid. In this gritty, real world, why doesn't he just punch him and take him to prison? He doesn't want Batman doing anything.
Man.
Why doesn't he just take him to prison?
I have so many things to disagree with you on right now.
Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
I think the problem was that Superman... You're saying that he's this, like, unflappable... They try to establish him in the first one, as in Man of Steel, as this, like, unflappable force of good. But they don't. There is never a moment in that movie, except for when he's a kid and he stops the bus from, like, falling into the river and all of his friends drowning. That's... If I'm remembering correctly, and, okay, I might be forgetting things, 100%. That's the one thing that I can remember of him just helping somebody because they're in danger.
Well,
hold on.
In Man of Steel, I said they established a flawed Superman. And I liked that. That in Man of Steel, it was a flawed Superman that had to make hard choices, morally neutral choices, and we said that we understood that sometimes he made the wrong choice.
Okay.
Choices that don't work. But it's in Batman v Superman that they try to reintroduce him as the perfect Superman.
I think so if he was supposed to be flawed, he was too flawed.
Mm-hmm.
He was a character, like I said, one point in the movie, he helped somebody. Except for, like, Lois Lane, I guess, probably at some point.
Yeah, he always Superman saves Lois Lane.
Because he's a freaking jerk. But, like, here's the problem. He saves people. He's young, and yeah, now his secret is known to some kids. When they tell somebody, they're not gonna, like, believe them anyway. But then when he goes home and talks to his dad, who in 90 years of comics with Superman has been this, like, moral, like, driving force. Like, it's great that he's raised in, like, rural Kansas because he's given this, like, just pretty much Christian, like, all-American sense of right and wrong. You do right when you can, and, you know, he goes home and talks to his dad, and he literally asks, what, should I have let them die? And he's like, yeah, maybe. And right there, that's the problem. No. Would you ever tell your child, not even if he has superpowers, if he has the ability to help somebody, specifically even to save them from dying, that they shouldn't?
Right.
You would not. Nobody would. And I think they even pointed out the flaw in this logic in the movie itself, because in the prologue, the Krypton prologue, which to me is the best part of the movie because it's so ridiculous, but it hasn't reached any of the moral, like, darkness yet.
Right.
It's so ridiculous. I wish it was just a Krypton movie. Jor-El and Ma-El, whatever her name is, are talking, and she's like, they'll try to kill him because he's so different. And you're like, first of all, they would? Second of all, and then Jor-El says, well, how would they do that? He's an immortal space god. Very logical conclusion there, Jor-El. And so then you go and he's talking to Papa Kent, and he's like worried that they're going to do something to him because of his... How? Like, I understand that he has to grow up and learn, like, right and wrong and whatever, but I think it's a pretty good point to reveal your powers even to a select few when you can save people. Because at the end of the day, what are they going to do to him?
Right.
like the government shows up and they're like, come with us. No. And even if he doesn't choose to, like he did later, that's fine. That's great. Like him choosing to wear shackles, even though they're pointless, is a great image.
Yeah, I love that.
What are they going to do to him? So you have a Superman character who, for all of history, has been this unflappable guy, has faced moral quandaries in the past, as we've shown, like even in Kingdom Come, and had to deal with them and had to deal with the consequences. But instead of the movie producing this character who's been raised in this specific way, like to protect the innocent and to help those in danger, he's been raised to not care about people. His moral compass has told him, you should worry about yourself more than you should worry about a bus full of children who are about to die that you can save easily. And so when he grows up, and he's fighting Zod.
Right.
I think it's a logical result that he is fighting Zod in the middle of the largest city on Earth and makes no attempt to save the people in that city.
Right.
He doesn't take Zod to the moon, like in Superman 2 from way back when. Or no, that was Superman 4, where he fights somebody on the moon. I don't know. Like, he doesn't fight Zod in the fields of Kansas instead that are like 100 miles away or less. He decides, like, Zod is specifically trying to fight Superman. And so, if Superman leaves and goes somewhere like Antarctica, Zod's gonna follow him.
Right.
And so he has the opportunity to save human lives, to mitigate the damage done by this fight, this super fight, and doesn't.
Well,
and so... One quick last thing. I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot. The very end, when he's like, oh, I know I might have to kill Zod. And then he has to. I think the whole moral, like, punch in the gut that's supposed to, like, he's this guy who's never killed, but then has to kill. You're like, no, wait, that's not. The movie has presented a guy who's been told all his life, raised as a kid, to worry about himself more than other people.
Right.
And so now, the one time he's forced to possibly kill a guy who's trying to destroy the world, it's one person. One person. This should be the easiest choice he's made so far.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, I'm upset about this. And that was my issue, is that he was too flawed for us to care about him.
And this is exactly my point here. So, two things. Number one, they had to fight in the city because Superman was going after the Terraformer, not Zod, and Zod was protecting the Terraformer. So they had to fight where the Terraformer was.
Okay, punch the Terraformer and then
he couldn't. Zod was fighting him.
Okay.
That's why they were fighting.
There are also specific shots in the movie where they throw a tanker truck at him and he just jumps over it instead of stopping it real quick. Like, he just chooses
it explode behind it.
It's hilarious when you watch it.
But this is exactly my point here, where he was very flawed in Man of Steel, definitely. And if this were a movie about a kid who's an alien, and he has alien superpowers, but he has a father who's been through some stuff and just wants his boy to take care of himself, and then the dad dies, and this kid goes into the real world with superpowers, taking care of himself, that would be a cool movie. That would be fine. We'd enjoy that.
That's a cool concept.
That's a great concept. But the moment we put that S on his chest,
yes,
we expect something else.
He is now Superman.
We expect him to be something else, and he was not that person in Man of Steel.
Which partially is our fault because we're coming in with outside expectations, but also he's Superman.
Right.
You can't avoid it.
Yes, and that's my point. It's partially our fault, but at the same time, you've established this character as who he is. This is not Johnny Storm is black in Fantastic Four. This is Johnny Storm doesn't have fire powers and there's a core being of the person that you're expecting.
Why is this Fantastic Four?
Yeah, and so Superman is this. He's been established in both cinema, in comics, in literature,
cartoons,
everything as this unstoppable, unflappable form of perfection. And then he comes into Man of Steel, and he seems so unlike Superman.
Yes,
so unlike Superman, that's tough to accept, and it's rough. But the problem is then we get to Superman v Batman.
Yes.
And they try to establish him as Superman again.
Right.
And it just doesn't seem...
They have
it
not...
doesn't seem right anymore.
They're trying to create a conflict of ideology, which is exactly what they should be doing.
Right.
Superman, the Boy Scout, versus Batman, the grizzled old murderer. Essentially,
Right.
he is a murderer. He kills people. He's a
he
vigilante.
straight up murders people in the movie, yes.
Unnecessarily.
Nobody's going to debate that.
But instead, to me, they were just the same character.
Just with
they were
different
basically
viewpoints.
the same person, because neither of them, they have goals, but they're willing to hurt others to do so.
Right. If they had made Man of Steel about this perfect character, and this is why Civil War did the conflict so well.
Yes.
Because they spent Iron Man movies depicting Iron Man as this man who understands that he is flawed.
He is causing conflict.
And so he needs to be something greater to help everybody else.
There you go.
But then on the other side, there is Captain America, who understands, I have an ideal and I am something greater that can fix the issues.
Right.
So Tony Stark is trying to find things to make stuff greater. Captain America thinks that he can be something greater.
Right.
And then when they're presented, the world is wrong, Tony Stark says, let's work with the government to make this stuff greater. And Captain America says, no, we can do this ourselves.
Captain America,
we are going to make something
who saw
greater.
S.H.I.E.L.D. be infiltrated a government organization. No, the government's flawed too.
Yes.
We are the people who can save the day,
right?
Not them.
Our moral quandaries, not our technology, is what's going to save the day. And then because they've established these characters, they conflict.
Yeah.
Superman v Batman did not do that.
They don't conflict.
They had two flawed characters, and then they brought them together in a flawed situation, and everybody acted flawed. To me, Batman was the most logical character in that.
He was more... I liked him more than I liked Man of Steel... or Superman.
Superman, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, if we accept him as the Frank Miller Batman, the Dark Knight Batman that goes out and he'll kill some people and he'll be gritty and he'll be rough. We accept him as that style.
He kind of missed
Batman.
the point of the Dark Knight Returns.
Yes, definitely.
He just used the imagery, but then just did whatever he wanted.
But it's the stylization of a Batman who's willing to kill.
Yes.
Who's old and who's jaded and world-weary.
They didn't. I don't think they did enough to tell you about what he's been through.
Right.
To tell you why he's. But if you are in the comics and it shows you Robin's costume with the Joker wrote on it,
right.
Jokes on you, Batman, or whatever. If you know about that, then you're like, oh yeah, okay. He's his sidekick that he was responsible for raising as a child was killed because he was unable to be there at time. That's gonna mess with your brain, even more so than his already is. And so I understand that. The problem is that I think Zack Snyder called it Man of Steel because Superman's really strong. He's a strong guy. He can physically lift a lot of stuff and punch really hard. Right. He's basically as strong as steel. Instead, I think the idea of Man of Steel should be that his ideals are unbending. Yeah. Truth, justice, and not even the American way.
The moral way.
The moral way. He had, what he was raised to believe is as hard as steel. He is unwilling to. And so even in times when his villains keep coming back, he's not going to kill them. Or killing is not in his moral, whatever, what do you want? It's not in his code, and he will not do it. Batman, he's got a more fluid code. He's been through some stuff. He is willing to do that. Right. And at the very the Man of Steel isn't steel because he's strong. It's because his ideology won't change. Batman will change because he is the hero that is needed at the time, and that can change.
He's the hero that they deserve, but not the hero that they...
Sure, whatever that line from The Dark Knight was, that
but see, if there was a way that they could take the character of Christopher Reeve Superman...
Yes.
And carry that over to face against Ben Affleck Batman, that would be a great
That'd be really
movie
fun.
To me.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be so interested to see this unflappably moral character presented with morally neutral situations and him struggling to know what to do, and then you have this other guy over here who's ready to do what needs to be done in any situation, and he's conflicted with this idea of like, okay, Batman's doing the right thing, but not the way that I would do it, but how can I do it? Because it's like, what is the right thing? And like,
right.
Seeing him be conflicted in this way, but instead you got him giving finger-shaking ultimatums to Batman.
Think about that moment when they become best friends in Batman vs. Superman. When he says Martha. For some reason, he says Martha.
Gotta save Martha.
I understand the idea. They both are in it to save... Like, Batman couldn't save his mom.
Right.
Superman is trying to. And he sees the problem. He sees, like, oh, we're not so different. That's great. I like that. It didn't work in the movie. Just like the idea of Superman being an alien immigrant and not being accepted. Like, that's a great idea. It didn't really work in the movie because he wasn't likable anyway. Think about that moment where Superman actually gets the upper hand in their fight and has his like hand around his neck and says, like, Batman's just like, fine, just do it. Like, you won. Like, you know, whatever. He's resigned himself to death already because, you know, that's how the world works. Like, it's just people die.
Right.
And then Superman says, kill you? No. Like, why would I, like, you can still do better. Like, if he says to him, like, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. We can do the same thing and work together. And Batman then has this, like, oh, I could be something better. Like, I would think a Batman who does what, like, okay, one of the best villains ever created, you'll agree with me here, is the operative from Serenity.
Oh, Serenity, yes.
His whole ideology was that I am doing terrible things to create a better place.
Yeah.
And at one
can't
point,
be part of that. I'm a monster.
I'm not. I don't have a place in that. I'm going to die at some point. I'll probably take my life when my work is done or something. And at one point, you told me that Batman you saw Batman as kind of similar.
Right.
I think that's what they should have done, where Batman is like, there can be a better world, but I'm so deep in the muck that I can't be a part of that. I can't change.
Yeah.
Since I was a boy, and this has been done to me, I have been set on this path. And then when Superman said, when in his view, Superman has every single right to just kill him right there.
It's not like he hasn't killed before.
He's done it before. Like, yeah, sure. That would.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of problems that have to be fixed to get to this point, but that would be a much more impactful moment, I think.
I agree. The fact that there was this question of, will Superman kill Batman? Like,
yes.
Will he go that far? That shouldn't even be a question. That shouldn't even be something on there, because
now, will Batman kill Superman if he has the opportunity?
Yeah, see,
that's a question.
Should be a question,
and that's interesting.
Yes. So, okay, we agree that Superman in this genre, it just isn't working. So we got a few minutes left. Fox, how should Justice League work? Obviously, we can't change anything or fix anything.
I'm gonna call up Joss Whedon. He's in charge right now. Hey, man.
Even if you did, it releases in a few days.
Not a good time.
So, what do you hope Justice League does with Superman? Where do you hope Superman goes from here in the DCEU?
I think tone is the issue.
Tone lock. The 1990s... Never mind. You
don't worry about it.
Lock is.
Nope. I don't care. As you said way before, we've tried to do this, we as in the human race, has tried to do this like unrealistic superhero, realistic world type thing lots of times. And it's been done very well lots of times.
Yeah.
Even going back to Iron Man. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous that a guy would create this like battle suit and like fly around and fight other battle suit people. Yeah, it's not really a thing that happens, but they did it in a way that's like you can suspend your disbelief pretty easily because it wasn't taking itself so seriously.
Right.
Even when they got to like his alcoholism in the second one, it's kind of funny, but also kind of sad at the same time.
Especially those of us who know Demon in the Bottle.
Yes, they've hit that tone very well, where just because serious things are happening doesn't mean you can't enjoy what's going on or, like, want to, like, have fun while watching it. And that's, I think, the major problem with the DCEU so far. And while we talked before we started recording what I thought about Aquaman.
Yeah.
He's my favorite part of the preview.
Yeah,
I think the preview
great.
is mostly really stupid.
You're
the
really
previews.
stupid.
But Aquaman seems to be having fun. He's not like...
My man!
Yeah, like he's like just jumping off of stuff and flying through the air and killing parademons and all these things and just having a good time doing it. And just because... I think the issue is that they think jokes equal, like, kids' movie?
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't get it. Like, you can't put humor in a movie and not to... Just because there was lots of humor in Thor doesn't mean I was, like, not invested in, like, them saving Asgard.
Didn't mean that the action felt inappropriate.
The action wasn't, like, out of place just because they were making jokes. Like,
hey, man.
Hey, man, I'm cold. Want to get on this ship? You want to get out of here? You want to go? Korg,
So good.
Korg's the best character ever created. That's not true, but he's awesome. I think tone is what they need to lighten up, literally lighten up in the, like...
The visual aspect of it.
Visuals? Stop putting the dark filter over it. Just
I feel like I need to take my sunglasses that I'm not wearing off.
Yeah, and also lighten up in what they're doing. Like, Ezra Miller is probably going to be kind of a funny character, like his Flash.
Yeah.
Seems jokey, and that's appropriate for Flash.
Well, he seems like this immature kid being introduced into...
which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But there need to be jokes. There needs to be a reason for us to want to watch what's going on instead of just sad mopey fest.
Yeah.
Because no matter... It's not appropriate for a movie with spandex-wearing superheroes fighting intergalactic demons to not take itself with a grain of salt.
Right. To try and take itself too seriously.
Right.
You can't do... You can't.
It's not fun to watch.
Right. I would say that you talked a lot about thematically how it would work, and I agree with you. I think plot-wise they could change some things, or I hope that they take some steps in this plot. They've already seemed to start going in a direction of making Superman a symbol of hope. That was the end of Superman versus Batman, and it seems becoming this way. Batman, like, I made him a promise, and all this other stuff. Like, yes, I know.
That was so terrible. No, hold on. I'm going to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Remember when we said, like, Batman saw something greater and wanted to now strive? How much better would that line have been? If after Superman then sacrificed his life to save the world, Batman at his funeral is like, I failed him.
Or even in a
or I
moment
failed
like
what
this,
he believed in.
Batman says...
That's great.
Sometimes, we can't stop this. Sometimes a few people die as we try to do the greater good. And Superman says, I can't accept that. And then he goes in and he saves the day.
Yeah.
Like something like that. And then Batman's like, okay,
sure.
Wow, maybe I can do more like Superman. Like, if he was actually a symbol of hope, this whole thing would mean more.
It would mean that statue that they built would make sense.
Yes, it would. So I hope that in some way they try and carry on this idea of Superman as a symbol of hope.
Yes.
And that in the plot, they work a way into Batman being a leader, but Superman being the symbol. Because that's what's happening in DC Rebirth right now.
I like that.
Is Batman's like this grizzled old war leader. He's like the general, but Superman's like the president. He's the symbol of hope of it all.
Right. He's what they're what they represent, what they're trying to do. But in the nitty-gritty of it, Batman knows how to accomplish that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they've got this like idea that Wonder Woman and Batman are the mom and the dad, and the rest of the Justice League are the kids. And they're trying to like train these people up to be heroes.
And Batman's the weird uncle.
No, Batman's the dad.
Oh. Superman's not the dad?
No, Superman is the dead.
Oh, I see what you mean. We're talking about the movie now.
Yeah, the movie, yeah. And, well, they're doing that in DC.
He's not dead.
And they're doing that in the movies right now. Well, no, of course he's not
Remember
dead.
how little you felt when Superman died?
Right, because he's coming back.
Yeah, and also he wasn't somebody he cared about anyway, so whatever.
So, when they finally bring Superman back...
20 minutes into the next movie.
No, it'll be the end. I guarantee it'll be the end of the movie.
He will come back and save
he will
beat Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
He'll be the one that kills Steppenwolf.
I hope that they change him a lot. I hope that he says something like, I got a lot of time to think while I was recovering, or whatever it is that they...
Kryptonian hypersleep.
Yes, that they MacGuffin him into the unflappable Superman.
That'd be great.
I want that to happen.
I'm willing to accept a stupid reason for that to happen.
Agreed.
Because the ends justify the means.
Yes, agreed. And I want that to happen, and then I want there to be some sort of visual representation of this. Like, I want his suit to be brighter. I don't want it to be navy blue and crimson.
Chainmail.
Yes, like, I want it to be blue and cardinal red.
Wearing the underwear on the outside again.
Like, I want it to be bright and colorful. And then you pan over to Batman, and he's dark, and Wonder Woman's dark. But
yeah, but here's the problem.
Superman is bright.
How do you explain that happening? They have to explain so much in the movie. I'm saying this as it's a flaw.
Yes.
Nobody cares that the Superman costume is bright red and yellow and blue in Superman 1979 or 78 or whatever. He's just wearing it because that's Superman.
Yeah.
And now they felt like they had to, it's his battle suit or something. Oh, nobody cares.
It just, I want there to be something that makes him the hope of it all.
Yes.
And that they honor who Superman really is. I don't like who Superman really is, but who he is in the movies doesn't fit. It's not working.
Yes, and we can disregard comics here.
Yeah, agreed.
The movie needs hope.
Yes.
Even though they try to make him a symbol of hope, literally the symbol on his chest means hope. Like, did you put on the wrong costume then, or
because that's an S?
Because no, like, shouldn't yours be like moping, or like shouldn't yours be a symbol of like depression, or
shouldn't yours be a symbol of
murder?
Dashboard Confessional?
Hawthorne Heights. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to the movie, but I also hope it's a big train wreck because those are fun.
I want it to be good. I don't think it's going to be. I want it to be, though.
Oh, man.
Guys, thank you for listening. Hey, let us know what you think about Superman. Let us know what you think about the whole Zack Snyder and the DCEU version of Superman. And at the end of the day, just let us know what you think about how these movies are going in general. Thanks, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Remember, save games, save lives.
Yeah, see you guys.